Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're here for another Law and Order Day here in Hillsborough County. It's good to be here. I'm joined by Sheriff Chronister, Sheriff Ivey, Secretary Ricky Dixon from the Department of Corrections, Commissioner Glass from Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and Whitney Mackey from our AG's Office of Statewide Prosecution. So we've talked a lot about, our duty as law enforcement officers to protect our most vulnerable here in the state of Florida, and that's becoming ever challenging with the emergence of technology. I know we've spoken and have put a lot of bad guys away that have been preying on our kids using technology. Well, here today we're going to talk about another class of our most vulnerable that we in the state are going to make sure we are doing everything we can to protect, and that is our seniors. In Florida, we have a lot of seniors. We're proud to be the #1 state where people want to retire. Beautiful weather, great opportunity, great public safety. Nevertheless, as wealth moves, as retirement moves, cheaters will be out there and try to take advantage of our seniors, those that have paved the path for us, that have left the generation better than they found it, and we're going to do everything we can to protect them. Technology has enabled criminals to cheat and steal and prey upon our most vulnerable in new ways. Today we're here to announce a situation where we've busted a lot of bad guys that have been using technology, cell phones, the internet, and cryptocurrency to scam seniors. Many of these individuals actually are already incarcerated. While being locked up, they are using devices and technology to present scam opportunities for seniors to purchase services or enter into relationships where they are transacting money, losing hard-earned retirement. Some of these cases involve theft of hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is hard-earned retirement that our seniors need. We are going to crack down and ensure that this does not happen ever again. It's happening across the state. I'll let the sheriffs talk a little bit about examples in other jurisdictions, but this is another example of law enforcement being coordinated, working together, working hard to make sure that we are using every resource we have, every technological asset we have to protect our seniors and hold these people accountable. We always say that, bad guys, you're not going to be able to run and hide. We will find you. In this case, it's very easy because we know exactly where they are. So they're not going anywhere. They cannot run and hide. Charges will likely be forthcoming soon, and we'll continue to make sure that we are keeping this state safe as long as we can. When we found out about these incidents happening, many cases across multiple counties, we worked with Secretary Dixon and his team. Last week, they did a surprise, massive wide sweep of inspections across the state. I'll let him talk in more detail, but we were able to confiscate dozens and dozens of devices. It's getting easier and easier with drones and technology for these things to get smuggled in. But we're going to be cracking down. We're going to be working with him, make sure he's got the resources he needs to ensure that our prisons are locked down. You are not going to be able to continue criminal activity from prison. And I know there's a lot of people out there that want us to be more lenient, less tough on crime. I think by now I'm not one of those people. And if this is any indication whatsoever, a lot of these bad guys, they need to stay locked away for a long time. So with that, I will turn it over to Sheriff Chronister and then the rest of the people to provide some remarks. Thanks.
Thank you, General. Despicable, repulsive, abhorrent. Just a few words I can use to describe those individuals who target and prey on our seniors. They use deception, fear, intimidation, whatever it takes to exploit the good nature and big hearts that our seniors have. Our seniors, those who have sacrificed their whole life to earn the opportunity at retirement. Our seniors, where every cent counts because they're on a fixed income. Our seniors who are being taken advantage of. Our seniors where there's no room for error when it comes to balancing your checkbook. Our case, just as the General alluded to, is equally as egregious. Our victim is a 92-year-old male who was robbed of over $800,000 during a 2-year period. And our offender, one of a few, was locked up in state prison as he accomplished this crime. I would love to say more, but I don't think it'll be too long before I'm back in front of the cameras. I have our group of detectives and deputy who are heavily involved in this case, and the latest update I got is there's more individuals, and it's even more egregious than we originally anticipated. So I can't wait to stand here and again be able to announce even more individuals that are going to be held accountable and responsible for our 92-year-old victim who lost his entire life savings. Where does he go from here? What happens now? I'm so grateful the Attorney General and his entire administration has made protecting our most vulnerable such a top priority, our young people and our seniors. I'm equally as grateful that our Attorney General has a group called the Statewide Prosecutor's Office. So when we have jurisdictional boundaries that we pay attention to, but criminals do not, we have a tool, a resource to make sure that these individuals who want to commit these egregious crimes against our most vulnerable will feel the full weight of the criminal justice system. I'm also grateful that the Attorney General chose to come to Tampa today to reaffirm not only his commitment, but to send a loud message to our seniors. Please make sure you're keeping a watchful eye on your financial resources. Trust no one. Make sure that the person on that phone is a trusted, noteworthy person from a financial institution. Give your bank account information to no one. To those out serving as guardians for our seniors, make sure that you're also keeping that watchful eye over your parents' finances. It's okay to be a little intrusive, to make sure that someone's not taking advantage of them. And at the same time, thank you, General, for being here to send a loud and resounding message that if you take advantage and you want to victimize anyone in our Florida community, you will feel the full weight of the criminal justice system. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Sheriff Ivey out of Brevard County, and like my fellow Sheriff Chronister, I want to thank our General first and foremost, and his staff, his team at the Statewide Prosecutor, all of them for putting the emphasis on this. You know, I spent 20 years working with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement as a special agent with them, and I can go back to 1993 when we were seeing inmates in Florida prisons that were committing identity theft, credit card fraud. Back then, their method was getting on the payphone in the cell, having someone three-way call them to the place they were going to steal the credit card from, the place they were going to use the credit card, or to the victim. Well, fast forward today, technology has changed the game. Technology has not only made our most vulnerable citizens even more vulnerable, but it has made it difficult for law enforcement to be able to do the things we do. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, those type of things have made it even more challenging for us, made it more challenging for our seniors, because many of our seniors are not that familiar in that world, in that platform. So what we're seeing is a multitude of cases that are taking shape and taking literally millions and millions of dollars from our seniors. In our county alone, since 2021, we've had almost $13 million taken from seniors. As I said, our most vulnerable of victims, our most vulnerable of citizens here in our state have lost $13 million. When we look at the recovery, $1.4 million is what we were able to get back. So as Sheriff Cronster said, where does the 90-year-old victim that based their entire life existence, their entire income on that money that's now lost it? There's no avenue to give them that money back. There's no way for us to help them no matter how big our hearts are. So the way we have to help them is by, A, doing everything we can to prevent it. Education and awareness campaigns, much that today is about not only what we've been able to do to arrest the perpetrators that have done it, but also bringing education and awareness to the table that our seniors are frequently, in fact, most frequently targeted, that our seniors need to understand that the best thing they can do is let their voicemail and their answer machine be their filter. Don't let anybody get your information. Those are the things that we're trying to bring to light. And when you look at, in one of our cases, in One of the very first cases where through the statewide prosecutor's office we were able to seize cryptocurrency, our victim lost $220,000. That was everything our victim had. We were fortunate. We were able to recover that money and some additional victims' money that came to light as part of our investigation. But that's not always the case. In fact, most frequently it's not the case. Our victims are out their money. So our message today is to, first and foremost, to the criminals. If you're going to do this type of activity, I highly recommend you do it somewhere other than the state of Florida, because our Attorney General, our Florida Department of Law Enforcement, our statewide prosecutor's office, our DOC, our local and state partners are all working together to either lock your butt up for the first time or make sure your butt stays locked up for the rest of the time that you're on this planet. If you're going to target seniors, that's exactly where you need to be. So recommendation number one to the criminals, don't do this. Don't put yourself in a situation where we're going to come kick your door in and lock your butt up for stealing from our seniors. Secondly, to our seniors, our targeted victims, please don't answer any type of questions. Don't answer the phone, the door, the computer, anything that people are asking you questions. As Sheriff Cronster said, use a trusted source. Trusted source is somebody that you seek out and give them your information. The information that you already have for your bank on the back of your credit cards, whatever it is, make sure that it's a trusted source that you sought out, not somebody that sought you out to get information from you. And at the end of the day, what we see and what you see standing before you is, at the direction of our Attorney General, local and state partners working together to protect citizens. And that's what we do in the state of Florida. So, Mr. General, thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Before I call up Secretary Dixon here, I just want to say, the Department of Corrections is probably one of the toughest places to go work. And when the Secretary took over, you had a situation where they were understaffed, under-resourced. You've got the #1 state economy in the country here booming, where there's all kinds of new businesses. So it's a challenge to staff up in these locations. But he's done a terrific job leading the team. Our legislature, I want to thank them for coming in and getting him more resources to make sure that we are staffing and protecting society from some of the most heinous and dangerous people. We called in the National Guard. They provided some assistance, and I think he's got that place running better than it ever has before. And we'll have some announcements in the coming weeks about further efforts to make sure that we are detaining dangerous criminals and criminal aliens and keeping Florida safe. So, Secretary Dixon.
Thank you very much. Again, Ricky Dixon, Secretary of the Florida Department of Corrections, and like the sheriffs, I just want to echo our appreciation for our Attorney General and his recognition of this issue. As it relates to the department in general, even in his previous role, he made a commitment when I took the job to work to get us the resources we needed, and he has absolutely fulfilled that commitment along with the legislature. We've had some good years, a lot of support, and a lot of recovery, a long way to go still, but we're doing very well in comparison to where we were. I really appreciate, as it relates to this issue in particular, the recognition of the correlation between crime in the community and the networks behind our fences. A lot of people are unaware of that, but there's major criminal networks that's going on right behind prison fences, not just in Florida, but across the United States. In some cases, prisons are becoming the command centers for the drug cartels and gang leaders. And the two primary avenues they use to carry out those networks are contraband cell phones and drones. So as much as technology helps us today, it works against us in a lot of ways, and we've got to fight to stay ahead of that. Now we're working on with the American Correctional Association and others are working on some federal legislation that will help us combat this. We have the technological ability. We need the federal authority right now to kill the signal, where the cell phone is no longer of use in our prisons, and to intercept drones as they come on our property. So that's not a technological advancement that's needed. It's federal legislation, and we're working in that area. So in coordination with the Attorney General's office and him making us aware of this incident and others like it, we did a special operation last week, Operation Triple Threat, and we targeted 3 institutions in this area with about 3,000 inmates and did intensive searches, multi-agency operation with our law enforcement partners, including the Sheriff's Office, our Inspector General's Office, Community Corrections, and several law enforcement agencies, and targeted those 3,000 inmates. And in that specific search, we walked away with about 40 cell phones. So it's several thousand are confiscated a year. So that just gives you an idea of the breadth of this problem. And again, their ability to connect with the public and carry on criminal activities, to include intimidating witnesses, taking advantage of the elderly, extortion, and crimes such as that. So again, we're continuing to work with the law enforcement partners. Zero tolerance for this within the prisons. We're very aggressive with administrative and criminal charges when we discover it. But it's been a growing problem, and again, can't thank you enough, Attorney General, for the work you're doing, and can look forward to continuing to work with our law enforcement partners. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mark Glass. I'm the Commissioner of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. You heard Sheriff Ivey talk about he was a special agent and the scams they were doing in the early 90s, and luckily I was just a young lad when you were doing that, so I'm a little younger than he is, so at least it makes me feel better. Yeah, exactly. Well, I just want to say, first off, we are very fortunate in this state. We're the #1 state people want to retire to. Why is that? You see by the slogan here from the Attorney General, it is my free state of Florida. Between our governor and our cabinet agency, cabinet and our legislators, we have made this state a law and order state. This state is serious about going after the bad guy. And let me tell you, if you're scamming seniors or scamming anybody, you're nothing but a thief. A thief. Look yourself in the mirror when you're shaving or when you're putting on makeup. You're nothing but a low-life thief. You can recover from that, and that's usually through the Department of Corrections. So they'll help correct you from being a low-life thief to get you back out there to be a respectable citizen in our great state. But hear me on this one. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, I'm going to use another one from you. He was on my transition team. We look at the crime du jour. What's coming over the horizon? Cyber, Bitcoin, that's the new battleground. It has been for a while. We're playing catch-up on all of that. But I just want to let the thieves know that we're ahead of you more than you think we are. We have the techniques, the capabilities, the know-how. We work across federal, state, and international and local with the task force officers or task force agents that we have, the deputy sheriffs, the detectives you see here today that is working on these cases. We work with them. And if you did something in this state to someone in this county, I promise you I'll put one of the detectives when we go across the big pond to go put the grab on you, or we'll go to another state to put the grab on you, because if you're from Hillsborough County, if you're from Brevard County, one of them are going with us to go grab you, because they've been working diligently, and you have these crime fighters that are sitting here that are leaning forward and looking at things at how to protect our citizens. We're lucky and very fortunate with General Ethmeyer, and I've been working with him now for several years, and he means it when he says we're going to come get you. He means what he says. And Secretary Dixon, phenomenal, doing the best job in the world I've ever seen anybody do. And I just want to say thank you for all your hard work and your officers. But Office of Statewide Prosecution, that is where the rubber meets the road. They are the stalwarts of getting things done. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, the FDLE and all the agents that are out there that are working hard, I want to say, General, and your statewide prosecutors are doing a phenomenal job, and we thank you for everything you're doing. So do not be a thief in this state. Do not be a thief in another state trying to get into this state, because I still will go get you. I just want to let you know that. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, of course. And then we'll have Whitney Mackey come up from the statewide prosecution office. And when I took over in February, I was really impressed by the work this team does. And in the last few months, I mean, they have busted dozens of cases, putting child predators away, putting people that want to scam on seniors away, cracking down on election fraud cases. Their purview is broad. They do a wonderful job helping law enforcement up and down the state, as well as your local state attorneys. And we're going to put the foot to the pedal to the metal, and put as many bad guys away as we can. So, Whitney.
Good morning, everyone. First, I just want to thank General Ethmeyer so much for his leadership. It is leadership like his that enables prosecutors like me and my team to do exactly what we're doing, which is holding these defendants, these targets, accountable for everything they do to our victims. Unfortunately, our state is an international target. These scammers know that we have an elderly population, and they also know that we have a lot of retirees. They are targeting us, and specifically targeting our retirement homes and our senior communities. Our team is here to stop that, and we will put you in prison, and we won't stop until we do. These criminals are aggressive, they're relentless, and they're extremely clever. But fortunately, so are we. We have a lot of tactics in place to fight back against this, and I just want to reiterate that there is no shame. If anyone out there is watching this and you've ever been a victim of a crime, of a scam, there is absolutely no shame in reporting it to the police immediately. It does not reflect on your intelligence. It happens to every single walk of life, and we see it every single day. I just want to put a few things out there so the public knows, and I implore you, if you're watching this, send this to 10 people that you know, because prevention is and always will be our greatest weapon. We as prosecutors, we at the Attorney General's office will always be here to fight for you. But if we can help spread awareness and prevent these crimes from happening, we will save people's hard-earned retirements and pensions. If someone calls you and says that they're your bank, in that they need to either get money from you or get information from you in order to move your money, that is a scam. That's what happened with Sheriff Chronister's case that we're handling now. This over 90-year-old victim was in Sun City, minding his own business, living a peaceful life, and his bank called him and said, your account has been compromised and you need to move your money to a safer location in order to protect it. Obviously, that safer location was to the bad guy's account. When this bad guy opened that account that he received the money into, he had to take a picture to open his crypto account. He literally has the photo of himself in his prison cell. We can see the prison cell behind him in the background. That's how relentless and shameless these criminals are. So we have to stick together and fight back as a community. The other thing I want to point out that we see a lot of is jury scams. A lot of our cases that are originating out of these prisons have to do with missing jury duty. So these prisoners are sitting in groups with contraband cell phones, and they're calling our citizens saying, you missed jury duty and you have a warrant for your arrest. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a prosecutor. We're never going to call you first if you have a warrant. We will just show up. So that's a scam, and they will never ask you for money. So please, you did not miss jury duty. Even if you did, do not worry about taking a call and being arrested and having to pay a fine. Hang up that phone. That is a scam. So please don't even entertain those phone calls with missed jury duty. The same thing goes for scams involving USPS, UPS, PayPal, Venmo. The infamous, you missed your toll violation, you have to pay it now. Those are scams, and they're designed to make you feel rushed so that you don't use logic and you don't apply the normal rationale that you would because you're rushed to pay it. That's a sign of a scam. And the last thing I'll touch on are romance scams. I know a lot of elderly communities go online and you meet people, and that's perfectly fine. However, if those people you meet online are asking you for money for any reason, if it's for a plane ticket, for their children, no matter what story they give you, that is a scam. It is not worth it. Do not send money to someone you've never met in person. Never. That is a scam. Same thing goes for using your account. If someone ever asks you to use your bank account for any reason, I have a foreign account and I need to use your account to have money just flowed through, that's money laundering, and now you're a participant. So never let anyone use your bank account under any circumstances. If you all are watching this and you know someone or are someone who's fallen victim to this, please call your local police immediately. Time is of the essence for our fabulous detectives and sheriff's offices and FDLE agents. They do a wonderful job, but they need the evidence that's going to be able to be given to us prosecutors to put these people in prison. So save every single scrap of paper, no matter what you think it's worth something to us. And also just remember that, we are here, we will fight back for you, and we won't stop until we stop them. And I just want to thank General Ethmeyer again for allowing us to do our job. Thank you.
Thank you, Whitney. Yeah, I think by now we all know the emails from the Zimbabwean prince that's got millions of dollars to send you for something. That's not true. The text messages with these toll fees, if you look, a lot of these numbers are foreign cell phone numbers. Any websites there, that's not the official state website, so be cautious there. But these guys, they're getting more sophisticated. My own dad actually, got a call from a title company where part of his land was about to be sold in a transaction, and this guy had pretended to be him, was using this German accent, and had to take several steps to unwind it before it was too late. So it's everywhere. It's sophisticated. Please, be cautious, verify, check for identification. If things seem too good to be true, they probably are. I want to thank these guys. The best part of the job is working with law enforcement every single day. We've got the best in the state, the best sheriffs, best state law enforcement. And if you're a bad guy out there, these are probably the 5 faces you want to be looking at least. So thanks for them. I think we've got time for a couple questions if anybody has any.
I have a couple. Just going back to what's happening inside the jails. So do we have one victim? How many victims do we have going on with the inside the jails?
I'll turn it over to these guys. Right now, there's at least 3 known cases we're looking at. One of these perpetrators appears to have reached out to several different seniors. So I don't have a hard number now, but we're looking at 3 or more cases in multiple jurisdictions.
And what about perpetrators? Like how many people do you actually think, I guess inmates were actually part of this?
You guys want to say anything more specific?
Do you want to touch on that?
I think right now we're looking at a few. Again, formal charges haven't been brought yet because we're still expanding to see how far it goes. But at least a few different perpetrators, and likely several more than that as far as victims.
Do you know total cost of money? Do you think that was? I know there was like numbers going around. I just want to make sure that sure it's not just fraud going on. It's actually what's going on inside the jails. We have a number of how much money do you think?
Correct. I'll tell you this: one case alone appears to have been $800,000 to $900,000 of theft, and that's just one case.
General Huffmeyer, I want to ask you about, there's been some hearings going on in South Florida federal court regarding the immigration law that the governor signed earlier this year. Judges had some issues with you on that. She said on Thursday, quote, there needs to be an appreciation and abiding by court order, or else this all becomes anarchy. So for folks who aren't really paying attention on this, should they be alarmed that you're a federal judge that is our top law enforcement officer, in this case regarding the law, the immigration law?
Sure. I think this really goes to separation of powers and jurisdiction. Nobody respects rule of law more than me. But on your first day of law school, you learn about jurisdiction that judges have, and the orders of judges apply to parties before the judge in the case. The case in question in the Southern District, there are prosecutors that have been sued in that case, but no law enforcement agencies. So when that judge asked me to direct law enforcement to stand down on enforcing the law, I'm not going to do that because I do not have the authority to do that. These guys, they don't work for me. They're independently elected county officers, and they do a great job, but at the end of the day, they are their own officers. I'm not going to direct them when I don't have the authority, and I do not believe the judge has the authority to do so. So we've appealed the rulings in that case. Again, I'm abiding by the court's order, but law enforcement, they've got a job to do, and so long as they are not a party to the case and there's no injunction that's lawfully binding them, then I'm not going to stand in their way.
Sheriff Cronister, I just wanted to see them. We were just looking back here on an arrest that you all had made, and wanted to see if it was in connection with this case that you were discussing. Otis Swinton Jr., was that the suspect? And just from reading what's on the arrest report, did this crime occur before he was in prison or in jail, and then he was kind of, how did that happen?
Yeah, great question. And got the detectives and the deputy who convinced the victim to come forward. As you could imagine, he was extremely embarrassed, and I know we brought that up today. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. If you're a victim of one of these scams, please come forward. And the detectives now, I understand there's over 25 subpoenas, and that's the delay and what we're waiting on. But this occurred the 2 years while he was in prison. To answer your question, it also occurred while he was out of prison. He was charged with victimizing this victim prior and came back again for round 2. So we know he didn't act alone. We know there are other people in this case, and again, look forward to at least being able to get the victim some justice that he so desperately needs.
And I just want to say, generally speaking, we're asked, we had heard 40 plus cell phones have been confiscated. Do you all suspect that, although we're only talking about a few cases here, it sounds like, that all of those folks who had, all those inmates who had cell phones, were all or most of them also using those phones to commit crimes, fraud, something along those lines? Is that the suspicion here?
I'd have to turn that over to Secretary to answer that. I don't know. Being here in Hillsborough County, we know that certainly our victim was victimized by an individual that was using a cell phone inside a state prison to commit these crimes. Secretary?
Yeah, just briefly, not all, but not all. I mean, some of them these for other reasons, but the bottom line is they circumvent our our communication system. And if we can drive them back to our platform, we have very sophisticated technology to monitor and record those calls. So they're doing it in an effort to circumvent our system.
And then I'll just follow up on that with the easy answer to your question is every one of them were used to commit a crime, because introduction of contraband into a correctional facility is a crime in itself. When you look at how those phones are used, anytime it can range anything from using it to commit crime, using it to introduce criminals to other criminals out that are in different facilities, romance, whatever it is, all of those are inclusive in that. But when we see someone inside a correctional facility with a phone, A, they violated the law to have the phone, and then B, chasing that phone call, that's the database that they called everybody is what's going to take us to whether that person was a victim of a crime, whether that person was somebody they were trying to have a relationship with, or whatever that case was.
I have an unrelated question, and I don't know if you would answer this. Any increased security at Jewish facilities right now?
I can only speak to my county, but I can tell you that we have enhanced security. We try and have our deputies keep an eye on our temples, all of the places of worship. Obviously, there's an ebb and flow. Times something happens, creates a little bit of us being involved and working with their security teams even more. But we always try and have an eye out, especially with everything that's going on across the country.
Are cell phones illegal contraband now? Like, I know, like, years ago they weren't. Are they now illegal contraband in the state of Florida? I guess if this was going on for 2 years, and we just had a rate of this 40 phones, like, how does something like that go on for 2 years inside our prisons? Like, are we doing, like, are there checks going on? Like, how often is that happening? Like, can you just explain kind of like something like this going on for 2 years behind?
So the Department of Corrections does random inspections periodically. I think the Secretary said you guys get how many cell phones? A thousand? Several thousand a year. We noticed a trend in some of this behavior recently, and it's why we don't have more details today on some of these cases. We will have formal charges, but it got to the point where we started connecting the dots and realized we need to put the public on notice that a lot of these calls and outreach to seniors, it could very much be a sham. So we want to put people on awareness. Be cautious, be careful, don't start sending money, including crypto. I don't trade crypto. It amazes me that so many seniors do, but do not start sending money without knowing who it is and where it's going to. We're going to continue to prosecute these cases and extrapolate as far as some of this activity goes, but we wanted to put the public on notice today. Be safe.
Do you have data, Secretary, on the number of phones confiscated over the past, like, even like 5 years? Like, are we seeing an increase of the number of phones being confiscated?
I'd say it's increased over the last decade, and again, this is not unique to Florida. It's one of the most prevalent problems in the prison system across the U.S. Again, it's why that federal legislation to allow us to jam the signal, that is the answer. There's technology out there we've tried, none overly successful, and a lot of it's cost prohibitive. But if we can get the federal legislation to allow us to stop that signal, that will be the panacea for the issue we're dealing with.
And I just want to go back to the amount. We heard 800,000 plus in one and 200,000 plus. Is it fair to call this over $1 million in these 3 cases?
The answer is yes.
And I guess because I guess the one case that we have in Hillsborough County, it's been going on for 2 years, but Sheriff, so you're saying that 2 years behind bars? Like, he wasn't behind bars that full 2 years?
Well, it's a little mixture of both, and I have to be careful and tread lightly because I certainly don't want to attack the integrity of the case. This individual was arrested in 2019 for victimizing this victim. He went to prison. He got out. While he was in on, I believe, some unrelated charges, he started again. So he got a taste of the apple and went back to get more of the apple. So I'm not trying to elude your question. It's a little bit of both.
Okay. I just want to make sure that what I'm reporting is clear. Does it
Yes.
mention that it was, like, taking place for 2 years for something
Yeah,
behind bars?
it started in 2019. He was charged with that. Deputy Mayor was able to convince him to come forward as a victim. So we arrested him on that charge. He went to prison for that charge. He got out. While he was out and inside prison, he went back and unfortunately victimized this poor victim over a 2-year period. Part of that 2-year period while he was in state prison using a cell phone from inside one of our prison institutions. Okay?
Time for one more? All right. Thank you, everybody.